All right, guys, we'll rock and roll here shortly. That's in your inbox. Tuesday edition of the show. We have a lot of news to get to today, a lot of local news. Alex Erpy will join us on the program. Big up to the Antonio Banderas of finance, Alex Erpy. We love him. And what Emergent Financial stands for, Emergent Financial Services. EFS, the Erpies. That should be the jingle. Emergent Financial Services. Front of the program, Alex Erpy in 17 minutes. Brews on High open today on High Street. Coffee shop. We're brainstorming a brew-through at Brews on High. Judah Wickower and I will relay to you where people are moving to and where people are moving from in this particular calendar year. We found it fascinating. Where are people moving to and where are people moving from in the United States of America? Lilo's Pizza closed on Pantops, much to the disappointment of a lot of people. Judah, we broke some news with that phone call. And then after you did that phone call live on the I Love Seville show on Thursday, I chose to go by there on Saturday to confirm. And when we went by there on Saturday to confirm, there was a sign on the door that said it was their last day.
Sad.
So Lilo's Pizza on Pantops is now officially closed. Big Tech is slowing down hiring, and food and beverage can't hire people. So there's a dichotomy there. The big tech firms like Snap and Facebook are choosing to slow down hiring. But food and beverage can't hire enough people. Explain that to me. Microsoft, Meta, Twitter, Wayfair, Snap, Facebook, Peloton, Netflix, Carvana, Uber have all indicated they're going to slow hiring. Yet restaurants are begging to hire people. Top Gun had a killer opening weekend. Our movie's back. That topic on today's show. Judah Wickower, you got PTIs ready to rock?
Just about.
We hope Memorial Day treated you well. My family had a great time together. And now it's pretty hardcore from here until the 4th of July, J-Dubs. Then we go 4th of July, then we go what?
What does that mean?
I mean, all downhill to the 4th, and then after the 4th, it's Labor Day. Has the family, the Wickower clan, decided if they're going to go on vacation?
I think we're planning on going to the Outer Banks.
When are you going? Are you going to tell your empathetic, kind, and very open-minded and considerate boss what you're doing for vacation anytime soon?
Well, it's September.
That's plenty of time.
Yeah.
I mean, I would like to know.
And we'll tell you.
You can tell me every now and sometime.
I don't know that I have the dates yet, so.
Okay. All right. Rock and roll. Let's do it. We're going to start where people are moving to and where people are moving from.
All right.
Look at it when you're ready.
On the set.
Guys, good Tuesday afternoon. I'm Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love Seville show. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live in Charlottesville, across Albemarle County, Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love Seville network. We're presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary. The best dispensary in Charlottesville is Skooma Boutique Dispensary, with locations on the downtown mall and on Elliowood Avenue, and more locations to come. A lot to cover on today's show. Judah Wickower is our esteemed director. Get that two-shot ready to rock and roll here, J-Dubs. We're going to cover where peeps in this country, people in this country, is it America?
Yeah, America.
Where Americans are moving to and from. Where Americans are moving to and from. That topic on today's show. We're going to talk about the 4th of July fireworks And where will the 4th of July fireworks be? We're going to chatter Lilo's Pizza. We broke some news at the end of last week. Lilo's Pizza is officially no more. I went to Lilo's on Pantops on their last day and was just surprised, disappointed, bummed, like so many of us in Central Virginia were about Lilo's. Tip of the cap to Scott Aaronworth, our favorite Esquire in Virginia Beach. We love you, Scott Aaronworth. Tip the cap to you, sir. Top Gun. Judah is a movie aficionado. Top Gun was on fire, man. And movies and movie theaters are now screaming from the top of the tips of the Blue Ridge, the tips of the Rockies, the tips of Carter's Mountain, that movies and the in-person movie experience is back. Paramount and Skydance film Top Gun generated and soared to $124 million during its opening weekend, earning Tom Cruise his highest domestic debut. That's a stat right there. I mean, let's go to a two-shot real quick. Of all the Tom Cruise franchises, I would have thought it would have been Mission Impossible.
Yeah, that would have made sense. I would have thought that. I'm sure those did really well. I think this may be just a case of people wanting to get back into theaters.
Well, it's that.
And then there's the nostalgia.
There's the nostalgia of the film, where our age and older remember seeing it in person in the movie theater, and they wanted to relive it. There's the pent-up demand from the pandemic. There's people that are eager to get out. Mm-hmm. There's also the dichotomy of having one of the most iconic actors in history of the silver screen, Tom Cruise, along with some other younger actors. I was listening to a podcast this morning.
I don't think you're using dichotomy right.
There's also the dynamic.
That works.
Okay. I was listening to a podcast this morning on movies. And guys, Paramount and Skydance Film, in partnership, Top Gun, Maverick, generated $124 million domestically and another $124 million internationally. That's $248 million gross. I mean, that is humongous. Tom Cruise, the prolific actor, has generated more than $4.2 billion at the domestic box office since 1981. But he previously never had a film open to more than $65 million on an opening weekend. He 2x'd that $65 million nearly with Top Gun Maverick.
It'd be interesting to see what the reason for that was. I wonder if it was competition with other movies in the past, or what.
Well, I was listening to a podcast about this. It's a collision of a lot of factors. Mm-hmm. It's iconic actor Tom Cruise, number one.
Right.
Iconic franchise Top Gun, number two.
Yeah.
Post-pandemic pent-up demand, number three. Mm-hmm. Young actors on the roster, number five. So they described it as a quadrant of four different dynamics.
Yeah.
Young actor, old actor, iconic franchise, and coming out of the pandemic. And the numbers speak for themselves. So will you see it in the movie theater?
I don't know. There's
you love movies.
I do, but I don't get out to the movies that often anymore. Like if I, for me it's like who am I gonna go with? And the one person I usually end up going with is it's like just aren't that many opportunities. And for instance, we've already seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I would honestly go back to the theater to see that over just about anything right now. Of all the Tom Cruise movies, what is his most iconic franchise? First is this iconic franchise, and then iconic movie. He doesn't have that many franchises, though.
Mission Impossible is one.
Yeah.
Top Gun is two.
Well, now it's two.
Yeah, that's two right there. Mission Impossible is an obvious one. What is his most iconic franchise? Are those his only two iconic franchise?
I think I think calling Top Gun a franchise is
Top Gun's a franchise. Two's a franchise.
now it is after
Yeah.
what 30 years.
So Mission
Calling it a
Impossible,
franchise is a little bit jumping the gun.
Mission Impossible, we're in agreement, is a clear-cut franchise, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
That's I think the only one.
Is that the only? I'm looking at his IMDb right now. Why don't you call up his IMDb as well?
Tom Cruise.
So interesting. Viewers and listeners, Tom Cruise, iconic, only has two franchises. And one of them, as Judah's just pointed out, includes a movie that's in theaters right now, so it's a bit of a stretch to call it a franchise.
Yeah, it basically just became a franchise.
I mean, what else? There's nothing else we can put in there, is there?
I don't think anything else.
Scott Aaronworth, what else would you put in the Top Gun franchise? There's nothing else.
No.
Okay, here's the follow-up question for you, a natural follow-up. What is the most iconic movie Tom Cruise has done?
Oh shit. I mean,
Good use of the S-bomb right there. Let's hope your mom's not watching the show.
I doubt she'll scream and
Okay.
go running.
Can we
from the
slide this
computer.
camera out a little? I don't like the angle on this one. Can you center this camera right here on me a little bit? Just go to the studio camera and center this on me. It's a little it needs to be, the body needs to be open this way. Can you studio camera and slide this camera out a little angled, please?
You want me to move the
I
entire...
just want you to slide this camera so it's a little more open, but first put it on the studio camera. Thank you so much. You're a great director. I really appreciate it. Your attention to detail is second to none, Judah Wickower. Second to none. I would say this. Yeah, there we go. That's perfect. That's all you need to do. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, it is. It is. The second question that I have is, what is the most iconic movie that Tom Cruise has ever done? And mine might be, especially after we saw this box office turnout this weekend, mine may be Top Gun. You need to frame. Are you looking at the screen? Are
You
you
asked
framing?
me to move it.
Obviously, you need to fix the frame after you're moving. This is Director 101. We learned this literally in the first class of directing
And
I've ever done.
just...
So you're going to move the camera and not frame it after moving it? Does that make common sense?
Why would I move the camera if
Because
I already had it
positioned.
framed?
It wasn't positioned in the right way. That's why we moved it. So we adjusted on the fly because we're able to do things on the fly, and that's what separates us from.
You realize that I moved the
Monkeys.
camera like this and then reframed it
Yeah.
back to the original spot.
Right. It looks much better how it is now.
Okay.
Thank you. So the most iconic movie is what? Scott Aaronworth says Risky Business. That's his favorite movie. Yona Smith says Top Gun Maverick. Do you think that's the most iconic now, Yona? It very well could be. Top Gun Maverick very well could be the most iconic one now. What do you think?
I'd say Top Gun and Jerry Maguire might be pretty close.
Jerry Maguire's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. So you're not going to include Mission Impossible on that list?
Not for most iconic movie.
Mission Impossible is pretty iconic.
I think it's more iconic as a series than it is as any of those as individual movies.
That's fair. That's definitely fair. I'll give you that. So you go Jerry Maguire. How about The Firm? You put The Firm on there?
No.
You put Reacher on there?
No.
You put Risky Business on there?
I think that's. I think it's a little too old.
You put Color of Money on there? Paul Newman, Tom Cruise.
No.
A Few Good Men. Incredible cast, A Few Good Men.
No.
Cold Trickle, Days of Thunder.
Cold Trickle.
That's the character he played in Days of Thunder, Cold Trickle, racing movie. You know, obviously don't
Sounds
put that
like
on
a
there.
bathroom joke.
I mean, that's for you it was. I don't think for anybody else. Eyes Wide Shut, do you put that on there?
No.
Eyes Wide Shut did well. Minority Report, you put that on there.
No.
You put, I think we've covered them. I'm looking at his IMDb credits. Vanilla Sky?
No.
Okay. Clear-cut Top Gun for you. How about Cocktail?
Probably not. No. I mean, I told you the two that I would probably give most iconic to would be between Top Gun and Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, I gotta agree with him. I think it's those two. Those are my two favorites.
I mean, he's got a lot of good ones.
He's
but
got a lot of good ones.
I wouldn't say they're all like the most iconic, and I think a lot of them are niche movies. Edge of Tomorrow is a great, like probably now one of the great. What do you call it? Groundhog Day movies to have come out, but I wouldn't guess that most people had seen it. You know, it's a sci-fi movie. Same with Minority Report, good movie, but I'd be surprised if nearly as many people had seen that as Top Gun or Jerry Maguire.
Okay,
which
here's
are
the
more,
natural...
are more, crowd-friendly.
Natural follow-up question. Are movies back? In-person movie experience back? And let's relate it to Charlottesville. The primary allure of someone renting from the shops of Stonefield is the foot traffic that comes from the movie theater. Let's talk the downtown mall. One of the biggest draws in a traditional economy for the downtown mall is the movie theater. Yes, the pavilion is up there. Yes, the music venues and the restaurants are up there, but the movie theater is certainly a big draw for the downtown mall. You're paying the highest price per square foot in the shops at Stonefield in Albemarle County because of that movie theater. Are movies back and the in-person experience back?
They are for me, and every time I've been over there, I've seen people coming out of there. But it's certainly not in the numbers that you used to see.
Will they ever be back like that? I don't know if my wife right now feels comfortable going to the movie theater.
I don't know what to say about that.
A lot of people don't. I mean, they certainly are not experiencing the sellouts like they used to. And the price per square foot, here's the follow-up question for you. Commercial real estate firms are holding their breath about this one. Does the price per square foot at shopping districts centered around a movie theater need to drop? Because movie theaters still 2 years and change after the start of COVID are not back to their original form.
That's an interesting question. I think, I mean, it's one thing to say that they do need to, but that doesn't mean that they're actually going to lower them. And I don't know what recourse the shops renting space there have to force a recount,
I mean, they'd have to use the power of collective bargaining, and they'd have to negotiate with the landlord as a unit of all tenants negotiating as one.
Yeah.
And saying with the power of collective bargaining,
They'd
we
have to
insist that
prove-
the price per square foot is down
They'd have
because
to be
the
able to
foot
prove
traffic
that
is a
the,
lot lower because the movie theater is not operating in its true form.
they'd
It's
have
a
to
pretty
be able to
straightforward
prove
negotiation.
that the numbers are down solely because of the movie theater.
Yeah, the numbers are down because of the pandemic.
Well, we all know the numbers are down because of the pandemic, but to prove that the numbers are down because of the movie theater is another story.
Well, if the movie theater numbers are down because of the pandemic, then it's a natural segue that the shopping center foot traffic will be lower as well.
It may be a natural segue, but that's still not proof.
That's proof.
No.
How is that not proof? The movie theaters are publicly traded companies. We can see how many people are going through the movie theater turnstiles because they have to report that data.
Okay.
When we see that the turnstiles have diminished attendance, like at Regal Cinema, their attendance is diminished. We know that diminished attendance at the movie theater is associated with the pandemic and people not having the confidence to watch a movie inside. So if the movie theater attendance is down, the shopping center attendance is going to be lower as well.
Yeah, but it's a leap of logic to say that that's proof that the lowered foot traffic in a shopping center like Stonefield is solely due to lack of people going to the movies rather than due to the pandemic. Everybody knows that foot traffic is down due to the pandemic.
Well, then
We all know that
if
there are less people going to the movies because of the pandemic.
that's an even better argument for them lowering their square feet. You're saying that the pandemic is down, that foot traffic in the shopping centers is down strictly because of the pandemic. Like, just use that to lower your price per square.
Okay.
And just be like, don't even worry about the movies. Be like, not enough people are coming here. What I would be doing if I was leading a collective bargaining effort of tenants, I would be extrapolating the data associated with the movie theater as my proof of performance or lack thereof that traffic is down. It's much easier to leverage data points associated with movie theater attendance than data points associated with Mincer's athletic wear attendance at Stonefield. Mincer's ain't counting bodies like a movie theater is. So I don't know. I would think it would be very straightforward to negotiate with the landlord and be like, look at how low the turnstile. Now, one thing going against that argument is the performance of Top Gun this weekend. I mean, you're talking about a box office opening weekend bonanza right there. The top opening weekend of any movie in the history. It's the top opening weekend of any movie in the history of movies. You know that, right?
It's pretty amazing.
That's amazing. That is absolutely amazing. In May, 2 years after this pandemic, we had the top weekend of any weekend in movies.
Yeah.
Now, a topic you wanted to touch on was moving, where people are moving to and from. And you got data points you want to relay to people. Let's get to that topic. If you want to go on a one shot and get the PTIs up, I'm down with that as well.
You want me on a one shot? With
Sure.
Okay.
So where are people moving from?
It's going to take me a second.
That's all right. You can just relay it where people are moving from.
Well, it looks like largely people are moving to the southeast. We've got lots and lots and lots of people moving to Florida and the Carolinas. Some also to Georgia, and then we've got a lot of movement towards Texas and Austin. I think a lot of that is due to
COVID. It's mask related. People are moving to Florida and Texas. Where is it less COVID jurisdictional? Where is it less COVID rules? Florida and Texas. We're the two wild wests in America. Florida and Texas. Okay. Half of the country is completely over COVID. The two states with the most COVID freedom are Florida and Texas. It's no secret people are moving there. Those are the top two states, right?
What's that?
What are the top two states people are moving to?
Looks like Florida, Texas. Let's see.
Florida and Texas are 1 and 2?
Actually, I'd say Florida and South Carolina look like they're getting the most movement.
What's the percentage? What's it read specifically? What's the data say?
I don't have specific. I'm just looking at a couple different sites. U.S. cities that are seeing the most new residents and most growth. What are we at? Cities with the highest move-in numbers.
I mean, if you wanted to live, if you were ready for COVID to be completely behind you, Florida and Texas is where you go. Joy Williams Long says, I think we all need to be smart and safe. However, we have to continue to live our lives. How are you guys living your life now? The numbers on COVID are popping. Are we living hesitant and still cautious and still masked and still unwilling to eat inside?
No.
Well, you're
That's not what I'm seeing either.
There's still
you were on the downtown mall yesterday, weren't you?
Yeah, downtown mall was popping.
Yeah, you did not see people afraid to eat inside or, insistent on wearing a mask everywhere.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I still think there's a large portion of people that are very hesitant. You saw that the COVID numbers hit, I don't know the exact threshold, but it's now trending high in Central Virginia. It just surpassed a new threshold.
Yeah, I think it was the number who passed away from it.
Yeah. So, I mean, while neither you nor I nor Alex, and Alex Erpy's in our green room here, you'll see the Antonio Banderas of Finance and Moments, would you say hesitant to eat inside? I don't think we're necessarily hesitant to eat inside. We do understand that there's still a large portion of people that are hesitant to eat inside. Scott's sending me the COVID data here.
COVID numbers reached 1 million deaths about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks ago.
Texas, would you move to Texas or Florida?
I might move to Texas if I had good reason to. I don't think I'd want to move to Florida.
Why? Heat?
Humidity.
Yeah.
I don't mind the heat. Probably fairly similar heat in Texas and Florida, but that humidity is killer.
Would you rather live in the Wild West that we call Florida, or would you rather live in a densely populated super urban environment like Manhattan, knowing what you know now?
Knowing what I know now about everything?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it really matters what I know.
Where would you rather live?
I definitely wouldn't want to live in a highly packed...
So you'd say Florida?
If that was my only choice,
those two choices were the ones that were proposed.
As opposed to like Midtown New York, yeah, F that.
Okay, so you'd live in Florida?
If those are my only two choices.
Okay, so he says Florida. I would probably do the same. I'd probably do the same right there. Where are people moving from? What's the data say from?
The data says about the highest move-out numbers looks like California, New York.
That's why I asked New York.
Basically the places with high concentration areas of lots of people.
Yeah, right.
Because why would you want to live there? But it's not just that. It also has to do with price, cost of living.
Cost of living, gasoline
is insane
COVID.
In those places. And
look at where people are moving from. Los Angeles and Manhattan. Let's just take those examples. Cost of living is obscene. Cost of fuel is obscene. Cost of food and goods. Inflation hitting those areas the hardest. COVID restrictions, the stiffest.
Heavy left-wing governments.
Heavy left-leaning. Yeah, that's a factor. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. My brother lives in Los Angeles. I mean, L.A., you spend time in L.A.
Yeah.
L.A. is like...
I lived in L.A. for 6 years. It's an impossible city to pinpoint one thing about because there is... I mean, I lived in the suburbs, and that's entirely different from, South Central Compton. There are so many different little areas in Los Angeles that it's hard to say one thing about it that stands true for the entirety of the city.
We got a mom watching the show, and she's a respected viewer and listener of the show. She asked that I not use her name. She says, after 2.5 years, vaccinated and boosted, and working in the food industry, my daughter, my son, and I have all tested positive in the past 5 days for COVID. Very thankful to be vaccinated. I mean, it's definitely out there. You hear from a lot of people here that it's definitely running rampant right now.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. The fortunate aspect of this is we are able to spend time outside.
I think another fortunate thing is that so many people are vaccinated and boosted, and we all know that someday, if it's not today, if it's not here already, COVID is just going to be endemic to our world, just like the cold and the flu.
The flu.
And from what I've from what I've read, best guess is that most people are saying that COVID is going to be somewhere between the severity of a cold and a flu, and it's just going to be another
nuisance.
Yeah, you get the cold, you get the flu, you get COVID.
Another nuisance. Two topics we want to hit on before we welcome Alex to the show. Brews on High has opened the newest Hunter Smith brand.
Drive-through coffee.
Drive-through coffee. It's called Brews on High Street. It's drive-through coffee. Today's the grand opening day, right?
I believe it is.
The former bank building on High Street. Both Judah and I believe that eventually you'll be able to do the brew-through experience where you'll be able to buy beer in a to-go drive-through setting from Brews on High.
I'm hopeful.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, the owner of Brews on High makes his money, let's cut to the chase, through Champion Beer.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't he have 6-packs, 12-packs in cases on a drive-through menu where people can wrap around and go through a drive-through coffee shop and in the evening buy 6-packs, 12-packs in cases of beer?
Yeah. Why wouldn't he?
Why wouldn't he do that? It makes perfect sense. And of the restaurateurs in our area, Hunter, much like Wilson Ritchie, like Andy McClure, has the creativity to try or think outside the box. So Brews on High has a grand opening today. We predict, our crystal ball, that this will eventually be a brew-through coffee shop morning and buy beer and drive-through setting in the evening and afternoon type of business. We broke some news on the show on Thursday, impromptu. Lilo's Pizza on Pantops is closed. Judah placed a phone call with them live on the show, literally live on the talk show. I went there Saturday, J-Dubs, to try to confirm that they were closing, and they are in fact closed. In fact, on Saturday, they had a sign at the door that said R.I.P. Lilo's. So
I'm not surprised.
Lilo's Pizza's no more. I'm kind of surprised.
Well, no, I'm not surprised that they had a sign on the door saying we're closed.
Well, after the
that
talk
we
show.
Called them.
Yeah, right.
And they said we are going to be closed.
And then we put it all over the talk show. Yeah, you're right. Did you see that? I did the post over the weekend.
Yeah, I saw.
It went viral.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people bemoaning the tragedy of losing Lilo's.
Of losing Lilo's. It went viral. The question I have for you is, you take the Pantops corridor. Where is To-Go Pizza there? To-Go Pizza on Pantops. You have Marco's Pizza.
Yeah, coming down.
Where is To-Go Takeout Pizza now that Lilo's is closed on Pantops? You have massive density of neighborhoods. Massive density. You have Keswick. You have Glenmore. You have Ashcroft. You have the pavilions of Pantops. You have Rivanna Village. You have a boatload of rooftops. And the only to-go takeout pizza you have on Pantops, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, is Marco's Pizza. Someone explain that to me. There's no Papa John's over there. The Papa John's is at the base of Pantops.
Well, another one hasn't been necessary with Lilo's up there right at the top.
My prediction, what's your prediction for that spot?
I think somebody's going to bring some pizza in there.
My prediction is new pizzeria.
You've got the infrastructure for it. Why not? Why waste the time like tearing all that stuff out and trying to sell it or do something with it when you could just you could just rent that place to another pizza purveyor.
Exactly, and I want to emphasize this. So we've been in the business of brokering business deals. And I'm getting this question. Scott Aaronworth says, isn't Christians on Pantops? No, in fact, Lilo's Pizza is the former Christians Pizza on Pantops.
Yep.
The reason they rebranded from Christians to Lilo's was because of franchising fees. Christians charged the Lilo's team a franchising fee to open as Christians. And then when the Lilo's team wanted to open up a second location in Zion's Crossroads, Christian went to the Lilo's team and said, you're going to pay an additional fee for another unit to use my Christians brand. And the Lilo's guys were like, what?
Why would we do that?
We've already paid you a fee for the Pantops location.
And in point of fact, that's going to be the last fee we pay you.
And that's what they did. They said, we're going to stop calling it Christians. We're going to rebrand it and call it Lilo's. You don't have proprietary control over the ingredients we use.
You've already taught us how to make good pizza.
We're making the pizza, and we have all your equipment. We are going to sidestep the goodwill and social equity behind the Christians brand, and then we will rebrand it, a name that few people can say, and make it a brand that is a dog for a pizza parlor. And that's what they did.
Few people can say Lilo's?
I mean, a lot of people are confused by the name. If you go to Lilo's on Pantops, well, when they were open, they had on the register the history of the name and the brand. Because so many people are unable to say it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't remember ever seeing that. But
Jay Wyant, Alder Creek, he's right. That's just over the Keswick border. Isn't that Jay Wyant? They got to-go pizza, and Jay Wyant, his pizza oven makes some damn good pizza. Not only some great live music at Alder Creek, not only some great pizza at Alder Creek, but some very colorful button-down shirts and some beautiful scenery at Alder Creek. Jay Wyant, you're exactly right, my friend. All right, last topic. In fact, why don't we get Alex on the show? And Alex, we'll get you on at this seat here. And we'll get Alex Erpy in the mix. I was talking about this earlier. So Judah knows this, Alex knows this, a lot of the viewers and listeners know this. We've been brokering a lot of business deals of late. In fact, we have 2 businesses that are closing or transitioning to new owners in early June. We'll make a big splash and let everyone know once these businesses officially sell. Now you would call them as under contract. So many people have asked me because they've seen on the I Love Seville network. And Alex, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, excuse me.
So many people have asked us, they're like, why would people pay, let's just throw a number out, $100,000 for a restaurant or $150,000 for a restaurant? Why wouldn't they just do it themselves? Well, the reality is the labor market is so pinched and remodeling and construction companies are so far behind. So the likelihood of you getting a remodeling or construction company to build out your business as you want it, it's going to take months for you to get on someone's calendar year. Furthermore, the cost of goods are so volatile and fluctuate so much in price, you're likely going to pay more in your build out than just buying an existing business for pennies on the dollar.
Oh, exactly.
So the thinking is, and I'll get out of your way, you buy an existing business, you get it at a good price, and you don't have to go through the headache of outfit, of construction, and of trying to get inspections and building permits and managing a volatile commodities market or labor market. Anywhere you want to go on this, and then I want to talk some hiring with you, Alex.
Absolutely. No, you're exactly right. You buy the existing business because you weigh the cost benefit and you sit there and say, by the time I purchase all the fixed assets that I'm going to need, the assets, the labor, and so forth, I'm better off just purchasing an existing business. It all comes in one package, and the only calculation you have to do there is how many times, because these things are usually sold as some multiple of revenues. So in other words, how many times revenue am I being charged for this business, and do I think that I can make it more profitable than it currently is? And if the answer to those 2 questions is A, it's affordable on the revenue side, B, I think I can make it more profitable than it currently is, then you pull the trigger and you buy the existing business. When you start from scratch, there's just more to calculate, because you're trying to then you have to figure out, okay, what's my profit margin after I lease the space, do the build out, hire the employees, hire someone to hire the employees if I need to use an agency, if I can't find them. And then you have to add in everything else. You have to add in the goodwill that you have to start creating, the brand you have to create for yourself. It doesn't already exist. You have to tell people where you are. You don't have to do it if you buy an existing business. They already know where it is. So there's just so much that goes into it that you can easily see that once the price is at an affordable level in terms of multiple of revenue, that there's just a lot of convenience to buying an existing business rather than starting from scratch and figuring that all out yourself.
Alex Herpy dropping knowledge today. The most iconic Tom Cruise movie, Alex Herpy.
The most for me, when I think of Tom Cruise, I kind of think of Mission Impossible stuff first, I will say. But Top Gun, which came out, their sequel finally after all these years, is up there. Like the music always goes in my ear.
Oh, I love it. Nicholas Herpy, married man, Nicholas Herpy. Welcome to the program. We love you, Nicholas Herpy. Do you feel comfortable going to the movie theater and watching a movie in the movie theater?
I just went 2 days ago to see, not to see Top Gun, strange enough, to see Doctor Strange.
Was it good?
Oh, it was very good. I enjoyed it.
Have you seen it, Judah?
I have not. I went for the other multiverse movie, and I do not regret it.
Days of Thunder, Bill McKenzie says. He likes Cold Trickle. Days of Thunder is his favorite. So what's your favorite? Is Mission Impossible your favorite?
My favorite Tom Cruise movie? No. If I had to pick a favorite Tom Cruise movie, it would be A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men is fantastic.
It's a fantastic movie.
Okay. Rain Man in the top 5 of you guys?
Very good.
You a Rain Man guy? Judah's not a Rain Man guy.
No, not really.
So I'll throw this to you here. Do you think that movies will be back as we knew them before the pandemic?
It's a good question. I think yes and no. I think theaters will come back, perhaps not to the extent, because they've been cannibalized by streaming in many ways.
Right.
The fact that so many movies, because let's face it, in the old days, part of the reason you went to a movie is because you didn't want to wait 6 months to rent it on DVD. I remember when the movies would come out on DVD. I remember The Lord of the Rings having to wait, like the movie would come out in December, and then you had to wait till August to get the DVD. So part of it was there was this huge lag. Now you sit there and for a lot of people, if you're not really into the movie experience, in other words, if you're not really into the really loud sound and the big screen, and particularly if it's not a movie designed for that, you think your rom-coms, your chick flicks, your Oscar movies. In reality, you don't really gain too much with a really loud speaker and a really big screen because the movie doesn't have special effects, it doesn't have sound effects. So you sit there and say, I could totally just watch this the same day it comes out on streaming. And so I think that's where I think it has changed. The fact that they went there, movie making companies, the fact that the producers went there because of the pandemic to the streaming platforms. Directly first changes, I think, a lot of the calculus for certain movies.
Well said. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Top Gun Maverick is not on streaming.
That one, yeah, I think some of them are no longer doing, but the time frame is really small now.
Yeah.
I think Top Gun is not on streaming, but the gap between when it comes out and when it goes on streaming is very small.
And also remind me of this. I heard this on the podcast this morning. Top Gun Maverick was finished 2 years ago and held.
Oh yeah.
It was not released at the start of the pandemic. It was literally canned and finished 2 years ago and released this past weekend, Memorial Day.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing trailers for this in 2020.
Yeah.
At the beginning of 2020, before the pandemic came.
Julian Freeman, welcome to the show. Travis Hackworth and Danville has ranked his favorite Top Gun movies. He says 1 is A Few Good Men, in agreement with Antonio Banderas, Alex Herpy. 2, Top Gun. 3, Mission Impossible. 4, Days of Thunder. Travis also says, I almost wonder if theaters will, to a degree, revert back to single-screen entity experience.
As opposed to having multiple...
What's a single-screen entity experience?
That's what I'm wondering about, too. What is that?
What do you mean by single-screen entity experience, Travis? Neil Williamson, welcome to the broadcast. He says, you don't need to wear a patch on your arm to have honor. Was that a saying in Top Gun? Must have been a saying in Top Gun.
Perhaps, I'm not sure.
No, that's A Few Good Men.
A Few Good Men.
That's A Few Good Men.
Okay.
That's A Few Good Men. Travis says single building experience. One screen.
Oh, okay. So in other words, there will only be one theater in a given movie theater. Like one. In other words, you're not going to go to Stonefield, Regal Stonefield, and have 14 movie theaters in there.
What?
I see.
How does that make any sense?
One screen movie theaters, I don't think can survive. I don't think that would work.
That's not going to work at all.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got like 2 or 3 blockbusters coming out at the same time. You're basically tossing money on the ground.
Yeah, and Bill McKenzie echoes what Travis just says. Back when there was only one screen in the theater. One screen theater, I don't think could ever work.
I want to
now.
go back to one. Now you
I'm
might
not sure
have
what the
less.
point would even be.
What?
I'm not sure even what the point of that would be.
Yeah.
Well, we're showing our age here. The viewers are calling us out on being young here. They're saying that it used to be a one-screen theater.
The Paramount
Yeah.
is a one-screen. That's it. You go
Yeah.
in, and that is the theater.
That's all you got.
What I'm saying is, I'm not sure that it'll go. That the entire experience will go back to that. I'm not sure on new movies what the profit to be made there is if you only have one screen. Now, granted, you may no longer have. I mean, Rito's got what 14, 15, no, 14 at least.
Is that Stonefield?
Stonefield.
Most
Okay.
theaters today have at least 10.
Now,
Yeah.
you may no longer have 14, but as you may sit there and say, I'm not getting enough people to fill 14 theaters, ergo, I'm going to drop the number of theaters that future ones produce. But I'm not sure you'd go back to single screen unless you were really looking for a niche. You'd have to be a real niche market.
It would almost have to be like an indie theater.
Like the old Vinegar Hill Theater.
Vinegar Hill was one like that. Bill McKenzie says the Jefferson was a one-screen theater, and he echoes what you said. The Paramount is a one-screen theater. Thank you, Travis and Bill. Today's viewer is so ADD because of streaming services that if we were told this theater only has one screen and one movie at a time, I don't think it would be well received. I mean, we talk about this.
It's not about how it would be received. It's about how would they make money.
Yeah, how would they make money? That's a better way of putting it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you're gonna have to go against theater, any theater that's currently in business. I mean, you've got the Regal with what we think is maybe 12 or 14 screens. We've got Violet Crown,
Alamo.
which has probably maybe 8. Then we've got Alamo, which has 8, 10, 12, something like that.
Alamo's
and
great.
So what are you gonna build a? You'd probably save a lot of money on rent because
So that's what their thinking is you would cut down on overhead labor, you would cut down on overhead electricity, cut down on overhead. I'm sure there's some kind of licensing fees.
You're also going to cut way down on money you can actually make because
Gross,
you've got
yeah.
to hope.
Gross revenue
Yeah.
drops
If you're
tremendously.
only hosting one screen, you've got to hope that you can get that big blockbuster when it comes out. You got to hope that you're not that you haven't sworn your theater for
A crappy
X when Top Gun Maverick comes out,
Right.
because then you're like, we could have made bank right now, but instead we're hosting.
Bill says I was ADD before the multiplex theater. Basically saying, you guys are young SOBs right there. That's what he pretty much was saying right there. All right, let me throw this to you here. I've been eager to ask you about this. So I'm going to rattle off some publicly traded big tech companies that are slowing their hiring. Microsoft, Twitter, Wayfair, Snap, Meta, Peloton, Netflix, Carvana, Uber. That's 9 companies. All those 9 have said they're going to slow hiring. They have people eager to work there, but they're slowing hiring. Now, on the flip side, food and beverage can't hire anyone. On the flip side, airlines are struggling to hire.
They
and
just
have-
dropped the pilot.
Yeah.
Number of years that you need of experience
to be a pilot, which is terrifying. JetBlue, Delta, Southwest, Alaska Airlines are facing staffing shortages. So food and beverage and airlines, staffing shortage. Big tech, we're not hiring any more people. What do you make of this?
It goes to show you that in reality we talk about the economy all the time as one big conglomerate, but it is very much, your experience is very much dependent on industries, sectors, regions, where you live, what's going on in your local, really everything does in some ways come down to local, because what we're seeing is, and I think this has been the case for a while, even prior to the pandemic. I recall friends who would want to go work for Spotify in New York, and you're talking hundreds of thousands of applicants that you're competing against to be an intern, to be an unpaid intern at Spotify. Right. So tech has always been in this scenario of you have way more people applying because they want to be in these high-paying tech jobs. And I think that's been the case for a long while, that tech has just a very big influx of people because they want the very high-paying advancement that comes from being in tech. And then you have other industries, let's face it, when you look at food and beverage is not really an advancement industry. You know what I mean? You don't say, I'm going to...
Unless you're the corner Bodos. Just sure.
But most people who go into food and beverage and go become a waiter are not sitting there saying, here's my first step to owning the restaurant. You know what I mean? Usually you're in a different stage of life when you're doing that. So I don't think that's necessarily an issue. What it goes to show you, though, is that the experience of these very large publicly traded firms versus the experience of mom and pop small business owners as to what economy they are seeing is vastly different. In other words, if you go ask the tech CEO, what are you seeing about the economy? His answer and what he thinks needs to be done about the economy is going to be very different from the small business owner here in Charlottesville and what they think needs to be done in the economy, because they're seeing two completely different realities.
Okay, let's do this. Let's play two roles here. You be the big tech CEO, and you tell us what needs to happen with the economy, okay? Mm-hmm. You be the front of the house manager at Maya Restaurant on West Main, and you tell us what needs to happen to the economy. You're the front of the house manager, Judah, at Maya Restaurant at West Main, and you are the CEO, let's say, let's call it, you're the CEO of Microsoft. Mm-hmm. What needs to happen to the economy?
So, I mean, in reality...
So you're not Alex Herpy right now.
I'm not Alex Herpy. As the CEO of Microsoft, I'm sitting there saying, I want interest rates to be low so I can go and borrow at extremely low rates and then go buy back my own stock. So I'm not worried about... In reality, am I seeing some inflation? Yes, but I'm not sitting there saying I can't find anyone to hire. I'm not sitting there saying I have to pay my employees way more than I want to. I'm not sitting there saying, oh my goodness, my overhead is crazy, I can't find new land, because I already own tons of property that's extremely valuable in, what's that place in Seattle where the Microsoft one is? I forget, there's like a specific area of it. But you're sitting there seeing a completely different reality. So I'm sitting there saying, no, I'm not concerned about finding people. I'm not concerned that maybe I'm not sitting there saying, hey, maybe recession would be a good thing, right? Because I don't need labor costs to come down necessarily. I mean, I'm happy if they do, but I'm not sitting there saying, oh my goodness, I can't find anyone at any price. I'm not seeing the same kind of shortages of being able to get things done that the small business owner is seeing.
Judah Wickhauer, you are not Judah Wickhauer, the best-looking director in the Commonwealth of Virginia, someone who does not age, the jack of all trades that we've grown to love over the last decade. Instead, you are Joe Wickline, the front-of-the-house manager at Maya Restaurant. What are you saying about the economy, front-of-the-house manager at Maya Restaurant?
Let's see. I think I would be saying about the economy that something needs to be done about housing affordability.
Oh, Keith Smith term.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the workers I've been losing are leaving the state. They just can't afford to live here anymore. We also need about the economy. Somebody needs to fix this supply chain issue, because rising lettuce costs are killing me. And lastly, our city needs to really focus on bringing tourism traffic into the city, because that is going to, I think that money is going to spread throughout our community and help all sectors of Charlottesville life.
tourism. Good for the economy, no doubt about it. Anything you want to add, CEO of Microsoft, to that?
So, as an example, right, I'm not as worried about housing affordability. Why?
Yeah.
Because I can
You
I
made
can go
$35
pay,
million last year.
Yeah, I mean, I made $35 million. But in other words, I can pay my employee less and say, don't worry, just code for me out of your house in Boise, Idaho.
Yeah.
You don't need to come and live in San Jose or wherever,
Definitely.
San Francisco and these.
Front of the house manager at Maya Restaurant. Why you can't make catfish out of your house for the team members? You can't do that?
As much as our teammates would love to work from home, I don't think we're going to be able to make that work.
I don't think you're going to do that in a restaurant. What a dichotomy. Bill says this. The first multi-theater in Charlottesville was the one next to Kmart. That was remodeled into two.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I remember that
I went
one.
there. I remember going there.
Yeah.
Great cheap summer shows. Oh man.
Then he says, then the theater on Greenbrier Drive, now
Yeah.
gone, was next.
That was
The
awesome,
theater
too.
next to Kmart was to the right where Hillsdale Drive is, not behind it. Travis says, I wonder how many of the jobs will remain unfilled because jobs are consolidated with existing positions, or in some industries, they're automated out of existence. Then he shares a link. Virginia also lags behind other states in incentives and attracting whale projects because of a lack of ready-to-build sites. Danville lost out on one with a $5.5 billion Hyundai electric vehicle plant.
Wow.
Chose not the Danville area. So we've talked about this in the past. Eventually, innovation is a necessity because the labor market is not improving. And folks like me and you say, we've been beating our head against the chalkboard for 2 years and change now trying to solve this.
Yeah.
It's not working. We got to try something else. Three Notch, we referenced last week, Three Notch Brewing
the
Company.
little
It's a robot.
little robot.
Expoing food to the tables as a food runner.
There's been times. Remember how when you used to walk to the movie theater, there were always multiple people to tear the little piece
The
off
ticket
the
stubs.
tickets.
They're not there anymore.
I think it wasn't this previous time they had someone like that stand us, but I remember a time before went to Riedel. There was no you just walked right in. There was no one there that day standing anything. So it was basically like an honor system. And I had my tickets with me.
Oh, you're an honorable man.
So I'm an honorable person, right?
Yeah.
But basically, you may reach the point where they're just like, you know what, it's not worth it to hire someone for that position.
Yeah.
A little kiosk and have everyone stand the thing, and you figure most people, more often than not, considering you have to pick your seats online, most people more often than not will have bought their tickets. They will not just walk in randomly into the movie theater and cheat.
So Neil, I'll relay Neil's comment again. You don't need to wear a patch on your arm to have honor. Both Alex and Judah, undoubtedly honorable men. I believe that's a reference from A Few Good Men. And he also says, to your point, the death of the one-screen theater was predicated by bad film product. You pick the wrong film to run, and you lose the battle, which is the point that you were saying. If you only have one theater and you pick a bad film to air in that theater, and your competitor across the street has Top Gun Maverick, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're absolutely screwed. The multi-screen theater is essentially hedging in movie theaters.
You also have more movies, I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think you have more movies coming out on average than you did back when there were one-screen theaters.
Would you feel more comfortable, speaking of labor in movies and labor in F&B, would you feel more comfortable working as a $12.50 employee at the movie theater or a $12.50 employee as a waiter serving food?
If you were making the same, would you rather work at the theater or a restaurant?
I mean, is the COVID risk the same at both? Or is the COVID risk greater serving food than movies?
I would say it's greater serving food.
Yeah.
I would say it's greater serving food as well.
I would guess the risk is higher. Sure.
Is COVID risk the same, say, Alamo, where you're serving food versus waiting tables at a restaurant? Or was the waiting tables at the restaurant, the COVID risk is still greater than serving at seats at a theater?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It just depends how full the theater is.
Depends on how full the theater
It's a bigger
is.
space.
And how full the dining room is. So what job would you take? Same pay.
I mean, I'd take the waiter just because I can't imagine being the Alamo people that have to constantly duck with the food and like in the dark and
Yeah.
serve people. I mean, it wouldn't be a COVID analysis at that point.
I also think they make more tips in waiting than they do in theater. So you're probably going to make more in the back
I would
end
think so.
when the tip money. You have anything you want out of there, J-Dubs?
Do you think the people that serve at theaters don't get tipped?
I think they get tipped. I don't think they're doing the volume of serving in restaurants, though.
No, probably not. They're probably not getting paid as little either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I wouldn't be surprised if the team member at the movie theater is making more hourly. Well, then I said
But
that
you had
we're
already
both making
specified you were
$12.50.
giving me the same price. For
Yeah,
it.
we're both making $12.50. Yeah, we're both making $12.50. Wild Bill, gone are the days of Beaver letting Gilbert in the side entrance of the movie theater. Judah, you used to sneak into the rated R movies when you were 15 into the side entrance, didn't you?
I didn't have to. No, but my dad. Oh man, when he was away from us, he lived in I think it was Pennsylvania for a while for a job, and he would go into a theater, and I think he'd watch like 3 movies.
My
on a day
parents love movies so much, and they obviously had my brother and I. They took my brother and I. I was either 3rd grade and he was 2nd grade, or it was 2nd grade and 1st grade to go see Young Guns. Emilio Estevez, Charlie Sheen, Lou Diamond Phillips.
It's not like you guys are going to be scarred for life by
No,
watching
I
Young
mean,
Guns.
I feel
Not
like
like I
kids
was
then were a little more, I
Yeah.
don't know, they had to go through the ringer a little more than kids now.
You want scarring, mental scarring. My dad took me to see Jaws in the drive-in when I was 3.
Oh boy.
Do you still remember that?
I don't remember it, but he said he turned around and I was sitting in the back seat wrapped in a blanket, just like shaking.
What did Xavier do to you, Alex?
No, I mean they were pretty good. It was
Yeah?
all cartoons.
All cartoons?
Yeah, from we were little.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I think the biggest risk was that he took me. I was allowed to go with him to see the first Lord of the Rings,
Oh,
just in case it was. And I must have been. This was 2001, so I was 9.
and
Oh
were
my
you
goodness.
were you good?
Oh yeah, we loved it. We
Okay.
didn't know anything about it when we first went to see the first one.
So he still hasn't taken Nicholas or Michael to Lord of the Rings?
they got to see 2 and 3.
Okay.
Afterwards.
Xavier.
When he realized it wasn't, they had been nervous. They were nervous it would be too violent and so forth. So once my dad saw it, he was like, "Okay, this is
This is good.
okay.
Okay, this is good.
This is okay." For them.
And speaking of your dad, are we going to have the closer in the mix on Thursday?
Yep, the closer is back on
Excellent.
Thursday. He is back from his New York business trip, so he will be with me co-hosting the other den.
Well, you did a hell of a job running solo.
Oh, thank you.
But I have a feeling Thursday's show is going to be phenomenal with both you guys in the mix. Who is on the show?
So we're gonna have on Jennifer from Monte Ventoso, which is like I didn't even know Nicholas, great CMO that he is, found it. It's actually like an Italian villa that you can go visit here in Virginia, as well as Ian Glomsty from Vitae Spirit is going to join us once
Nice.
again. He talked about what's new there. There's always so many new things going on at Vitae, so it's always going to be fun to have him here on the show.
It's going to be a darn good show. Thursdays at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love Seville Network, presented by Emergent Financial Services. We did a little bit of jingle beforehand with Emergent Financial Services and Block One. Did you hear it?
No, I
When
was probably driving.
When I gain the courage again, I will sing the jingle one more time. We love Emergent Financial Services. We love what they stand for. You can find them online at emergentfinancialservices.com. Would you care to execute the jingle for Alex, J-Dubs?
I don't know the jingle.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it when I have a little bit more courage. I thought it was pretty good. We will see you Thursday.
Yep, looking forward to it.
We're looking forward to it as well. Judah Wickower, Alex Erpy, my name is Jerry Miller. Tomorrow is Wednesday, and the show is back at 12:30. On Thursday, we will have Sarah Robinson. She reached out to us from CBS 19. She watches the I Love Seville show all the time. She will be on the show on Thursday. She is, and she sent me an email about this, She's currently Miss Greater Charlottesville, and she's heading to Miss Virginia in June. So I believe she may be Miss Virginia. So I think Miss Virginia is in studio on Thursday.
Is she
on the
going
show.
to compete in Miss
Is she
Virginia,
going
or
to
is she
compete?
already?
I don't know. The way she worded the email, she was already Miss Virginia, but I may be interpreting it wrong. Either way,
Nice.
we're going to have a little, is that a pageant?
That's what it was. Yeah, they're pageants.
That's a pageant, right?
Yeah.
We'll have some pageant talk on Thursday.
Excellent.
We'll have some
Nice.
pageant talk with the talented Sarah
This
Robertson.
will be 2 years in a row.
I
then that
know.
we get Miss Virginia comes on the network.
Because she was on Today Manana.
Today, Manana, we had last year's
Yeah.
Miss Virginia last
She
year.
was dynamite.
She was, yeah, she
That's
was
the hardest
excellent.
question I'm going to ask you. Do you remember her name?
Oh,
I forget her name too, but
I
she was
forget it
excellent.
too, but she was excellent.
Yeah, out of Lynchburg, I think.
And then she was, her Boys and Girls Club was her, the charity that she was
Yeah.
supporting.
That's right. That's right. She was dynamite. Alex is always dynamite. Judah is always dynamite. I'm Jerry Miller, and this is the I Love Seaville show presented by Skooma Boutique Dispensary. We will see you guys tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. with Real Talk. Take care. Alex, bravo. Well
Oh,
done.
Thank you.
Good job.
Another fun show. I liked the